And now we have the sounds on. Oh, that sounds a bit much. So guys, let me know if the sounds are a bit too loud or anything's too quiet.
Could new subscribers please make your way
and
to
then
the
also,
cabin, where complimentary
I hope you understand that. I'm going to dial down the Twitch alert sounds a bit. Thank you so much for everyone that is joining right now. Thank you so much already for the support coming in with the resubs. Thank you very much. And as you can see, we're here today. Again, it's been a long time, but we're flying a FlightSimulabs A321 in this case. I'm really excited. Very, very... well, it's been a long time for me. And before I go back into history to tell you a little bit about this aircraft and the history that I was able to follow, let me first of all introduce the wonderful developers that have joined us today.
Me too.
Guys, before we do that, guys, is the sound okay? So the alerts, are they quiet enough? Because I don't want them to overpower everything. I'm just gonna wait. Sound is fine. And the sim sound's also fine. Totally fine. Thank you so much for the feedback. Fantastic. Okay, so without further ado, let's jump it. First of all, the founder and the owner of FlightSimulabs, Lefteris. Hello, how are you?
I'm doing very well. Very excited to be here. Thank you so much for this invitation. We're very excited to showcase this new product for everybody.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, we're your guests, so you do everything.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here and helping out with answering all of your questions. Big echo now with Lefteris. I can dial down Lefteris sounds a little bit later on. And then helping out, you all know him, Mr. Andy Wilson. Hello, Andy.
Hello. Very excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. And I know there'll be lots of questions for you as well. And also with us here is Duncan. Hello, Duncan.
Hi, Bob. It's lovely to be here. Thank you.
Hello. Duncan will give us some more detailed infos regarding some new features with the EFB, tech lock, and so on. Okay, there's some echo on the mics. Okay, so let me see what has happened there. Lefteris, can you say hello again, just to see?
Hello. Can you hear me, everybody? Hi, everybody. Just still trying to tweak. Keep talking a little bit, just echo. Sorry.
Okay, so there's some echoes and regarding alerts. So let's see, testing. Yes.
Hello again. Hello. Anything?
Yeah.
Is this better?
Still an echo. So black box sounds fine. Andy, can you say hello again, just to see?
Yeah, sure. Hello.
So Andy, do you hear Andy as an echo or an echo as well? So it has to do with some setting here. Let me just check something real quickly. Apologies for that. So Lefteris, I'm going to have to ask you again. Could you say hello? Andy is better? Okay. Huh? Oh yeah. Hang on, let me just see.
Welcome aboard the Captain Blackbox Twitch channel subscriber experience. Could new subscribers please make your way to the first
Yeah, so a little explanation, guys. So I had to move to a different hard drive because I screwed up my Microsoft 2020 on my main hard drive, so I had to reinstall it on a separate hard drive. And the thing is that I did adjust the sound settings, so I'm not exactly sure what's happening. Let me just go through the settings real quickly. Can you still hear me in the stream here? Sorry, in the chat. So on the stream, yes, but you can't hear anyone else from the developers. Okay, so let me just check now the settings here in Discord. Right, Left Terrace, can I ask you again, please, to say something?
Hi, hello, how is everybody? Is this any better? Are you still doing anything better?
Welcome aboard the Captain Blackbox Twitch channel subscriber experience. Could new subscribers please make
Okay,
your way to
no,
the first class cabin?
not better.
Complimentary drinks, snacks, and
Oh,
BB711 thumbs up.
right, I apologize. I don't know what's happening here with the audio. So let's try again. Hang on, before you do that, I think I may have found the reason. Let me just have a look. Okay, Andy, could I ask you now? Because I think your microphone...
Okay, yep. Hopefully this sounds a little better.
So it's just the shouldn't have a... It's perfect. Hey, we found it. Fantastic. Good. Thank God for that. It's always a nightmare for a streamer if the sounds... Okay, so I can... Well, loudness I can dial up a bit. That's no problem. And Left Terrace, let's see if you can come through.
Of course. How is this? Is this any better, guys?
Turn them all up. We can do that for sure.
I
Okay,
can
guys.
keep talking if you want. Do you need me to? Or, yeah, everything's good?
Much better, much better. So, okay. Yeah, and I think the outside noise was a bit loud as well. Just bring up their level a bit more. Okay, we'll do that.
Hello, black box.
Hello, hello. All right, so... Okay, I think we should be boosted now. Now, let's get straight into the first questions, because then people otherwise will become a bit disencouraged if we don't answer some questions. So right before the stream, we had already the first question coming in regarding the... So can you ask if the Neo will be standalone purchase and will Skalaki products be compatible?
Please make your way to the first class cabin, where complimentary
Right, I guess
drinks
that's mine to pick up.
Thank you.
Yeah, as you have seen, the pricing on
amigos.
our
What a
product
day.
line for MSFS
Pretty
is a little
much all
different than
started
the
with our
one
loved
in
bus
P3D.
more than
So we don't
6
have a
years
base
ago.
product anymore, but we're going to be offering
BB711
discounts to those customers who have purchased the Seal line until the Neo comes out. So anyone buying the Seal will be rewarded with a discount for the Neo product, which will be standalone. Does that answer it? Oh, and the Skalaki products, there's work underway. It's with testers at the moment, so more news soon, or not soon, but as soon as possible.
Okay. Yeah, the echoes are a bit, because I think that's from Terra sitting in a room somewhere, was a bit of echoes, but yeah, it does, as long as you can hear him and understand what he's saying, that's fine. Good. So then we had someone come in. When are you going to plan to release the rest of the A320 family?
Yeah, that's a good question too. We are working towards something, but we're not going to be able to reveal about that until later on. But we'll be expecting that you'll be happy with the news.
Oh yeah, then we had some questions coming in regarding the Concorde.
Before I answer those, can I switch to my phone Discord in case that's better in terms of audio, in case you guys hear me better?
Okay, so some people say it's fine, and some people say, can you turn him up? He's quiet. Okay, I can dial him up a bit more. Yeah, some people said probably the phone probably won't be much better. All right. Okay, so the answer again, the Neo being standalone, could you maybe repeat that again?
Yeah, we decided that we're going to be offering the CO product standalone and the Neo product standalone. But the difference here is that for those people who decide to buy the CO before the Neo comes out, they'll be rewarded with a discount, which will stop immediately when the Neo comes out. Is that clearer for you? I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, that should be fine. So I'm already getting some comments regarding textures. Now, be aware that my streaming upload is somewhat limited. So there is a compression at work here, meaning that what you see on your monitor is not what I see on my monitor. Just be aware of that. I did some flying today in the Phoenix and the FSLabs, and I even made some screenshot, and to be honest, there isn't that much difference. So from the quality, the colors look a bit different, but then again, I can see that I've said it many times before, there's people that are very kind of visually focused, there's people that are sound focused, and there's people that are system focused. So just watch, make up your mind and see what you like, what you don't like. But for me personally, I think the textures are perfectly fine. I don't see where that criticism comes from. Again, if you see it on your monitor, it will look different to what you see here on stream. I think it doesn't do justice here on stream. That's the thing. Can you pop out streams as screens? Yes, you can. So there are click spots here that you can actually click out the screens. What I have learned is that you cannot get these onto a different monitor. What you can do, though, for example, you can get the EFB on a normal browser window, on a different tablet, for example, external tablet, on a different monitor, etc. That does work, yes. So regarding questions, are you guys seeing the questions on the presentation channel by any chance? Let's see. So Organ Aviator, does the FSLabs use external software like the Phoenix? Another question.
There's a combination of external software and internal software, yes.
Okay. Yeah, Concorde. People, I've been asked that before the stream, but yeah, I'm going to have to ask again here on stream. So Concorde, are there any plans for the Concorde from FSLabs?
The Concorde is where it all started, right? I mean, our company loves the Concorde, and I think we do it justice in every way whenever we try to develop it. So because it's a product of love, we would never be able to forget it. So it's in development, but at the moment our focus is on the Airbus line. If that makes sense to you.
Yeah.
We'll never be able to go away from Concorde. We love it as much as you guys do.
Yeah, exactly. But I guess it's one after the other, right? First, you have to see how this one, is taken on, and the support questions that may come in, and then I'm sure you can concentrate on some other things as you go along.
Yeah, see, there's a foray of things. I mean, you can't spread yourselves too thin with everything, and our attention needs to be on the Airbus line right now, because remember, this is our first attempt in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and that's where we're trying to be, very humble and very modest, and do the best job we can to get everybody as excited as we are to get this out. We feel that we have done it justice, and you'll see when we release, hopefully, what we see every day, and what you saw, Captain Blackbox, on your screen.
Yeah, exactly. Right, so people are complaining about sim sounds not being loud enough, but we'll see if we can boost that. That's better. Okay, thank you much for the feedback, guys. Right, yeah, just type in your questions. My moderators are putting them forward to the developers. Hey, V1 Simulations, how you doing? And then he writes, when I flew the FSLabs on P3D, a huge plus was the seamlessness, or the seamless integration with ground services. Yes, so V1 Simulations, very good questions. And I'm going to go through the preparations. I'll do that quietly so that we can answer more questions. But yeah, do please post questions so that we can talk about these things. And then I'll be, whenever I get to a point where I think it demonstrates some of the new features of this aircraft, then I'll talk to the developer responsible for this, and I'm sure we can answer a lot of questions by doing so. When I was given the copy here to try out, it was interesting that initially, since I haven't used the FSLabs for a while, I was a bit stuck on how to do the init for the flight plan, how to get GSX integration working and so on. But it all came back really quickly again to me, because the way that the systems are being used are the same as you had on P3D. So those of you that had used this in P3D, you will find it very easy to come back again in this version for Microsoft Flight Sim. So another question was, because, we talked about it yesterday as well, so another question pops up, any discount for the P3D users?
No, this is an entirely new platform, and we have developed almost everything from scratch. This is an evolution of 16 years of the product, and there's not going to be a discount for P3D, sorry.
Yeah.
I think it's worth noting that obviously the price point has changed significantly as well. So
yeah, in fact, you can call this a complete discount from a P3D product anyway, right?
And also, as I've said privately to you, Lift Terrace, so for me, when I buy an add-on, be it, let's say, $40 or $50, and if I only use it 2 or 3 times and then get bored of it, I mean, is that worth the money? Or is it better to have an aircraft that may cost $70, $80, but you're able to use it, hundreds of times, because it is just, so immersive, and you feel so connected to it, time after time, and it just keeps you using it. I mean, that's money, well invested in that case, right? So we want seeing the preparations. So again, it's the same as on P3D back then. So if you have GSX integration here for the refueling, there's no need to call up the GSX menu. This is all integrated into the MCDU here. So I've selected refuel via GSX. Just to make sure that the fuel values are there according to our flight plan. So I'm going to go to the briefing prompt here, and we can scroll down to the fuel value. So 7.5 is correct. And so, or 7.7 block fuel, taxi fuel, and then takeoff fuel. So we'll send that off, and that should now prompt GSX automatically. Yeah, there we go. So the refueling truck is on its way. Guys, thank you so much for all of the resubs. I do apologize for not calling out everyone. I had to dial down the Twitch alert sounds a bit because people are saying it does disturb the discussions and the explanations from the developers. So apologies for that. But I thank you all very much for all the support. So there we go. Another good question was from Shaf. He asked, will certain airframes have a saved tech log, just like you have in the that plane the other day? So for example, the APU, so yeah, so that's a question for Duncan, I think.
Yeah, that does sound like that's a me question. Yeah, so we generate a tech log for every single airframe you have installed under our 321 product line, and that is persistent. So you can reset it as Bob was shown here. There's some buttons on the bottom. If you're on the ground and the engines are off and the parking brake's in, you can actually reset it. You can also repair individual items if you don't want to dispatch with that fault. But every airframe has a tech log. The defects of the aircraft are generated dynamically depending on the age of the aircraft, the MSN, how many hours it's got, all this kind of good stuff. And we have a swath of over 250 possible defect items in there, and those will continue to build, and they all link into stuff in the cockpit bits and bobs as well.
Yeah. So this is one of the new features that personally I've been missing in other aircraft, because this is, what we pilots IRL deal with on a daily basis. So normally people get asked, did you have this failure, or what's the worst thing that happened? Well, that's not really what an airline pilot has to go through every day on a daily basis. So if you want to learn more about an aircraft and that way get more immersed and learn about how an airline pilot goes through preparations, what he has to consider, this is exactly what I've been missing. So you can see here already I've flown, well, the engine hours is 50 minutes, so this is a fairly new aircraft. I've done 3 cycles, so touch and goes, for example, and so this is persistent. So as long as you don't reset the aircraft, this will continue to note down the age of the aircraft, the cycles, and then, like Duncan just said, it will, according to the initial age of the aircraft, so the MSN, the number of the aircraft, the build number, and the amount of flying you've done, etc., that way you will get certain issues with the aircraft. Now, I've said before, it would be too much to go into all of the details regarding the settings for the service-based issues that you have. But I said next week sometime we'll do a sole stream just to explain these features, these new features. And Duncan already said he will be available to help out, explain all about these new menus. And so I'm excited for this for sure. Now today, for the day's flight, I have actually put in a medium failure rate, including all the failures available. We'll see if anything happens. But this is simulated true to life, meaning that just like in the real world, it doesn't mean that you're going to get a failure for sure, right? So the bigger failures will not happen, even sometimes for pilots in their 30-year flight career, right? So engine failure or rapid decompression, whatever. So this is what it's supposed to simulate: a real world aircraft with the real world kind of technical issues that you get, which usually are more the minor things. However, that doesn't make it less complicated sometimes, because if you get a defect being entered into the technical logbook, which is then dispatched according to the minimum equipment list, meaning the mechanics technicians have not had a chance to repair it for you, and so the aircraft is dispatched then with a certain failed or in-op system. Here, the first time, again, I've not seen it in any other add-on, you can actually go and call up these MEL items, and so FSLabs have now integrated a full, at least for the simulator here, a MEL list where you can look for these MEL items, and then or if you have a new defect coming up, you can check what is the MEL item regarding that defect. And then on the minimum equipment list, it will tell you what you have to consider, how serious that defect is. is there anything that you have to consider regarding the takeoff, flight, landing, whatever? And somebody has asked, are the circuit breakers simulated? That's a good point right now. They are. And so Duncan, correct me if I'm wrong, but if there's any system failed during your operations at some time that involve a pulling and securing of a circuit breaker, is that simulated here?
Yeah, so we decided to take the approach that we wouldn't have these items already done. So you have to follow the operational procedure and the documents on the FB and go and pull the circuit breaker yourself. So rather than just you turning up to the aircraft and it's already done by maintenance, we thought we'd give you a little bit more interaction there and have to pull the CBs yourself if the operational instruction asks you to do it.
Okay, yeah. But again, this would be too much to handle today. We are limited on 2 hours time, so before the developers have to go into a different stream, which we'll forward on later on. But let me have a look for some more questions. Yeah, so of course the question is any plans for a wide-body aircraft?
I'll answer that. Yeah, of course there are. We are flight simmers. You know, we've been doing this 25, 30 years. We're as passionate as everyone else is in here for this hobby. So yes, we've got plans. We want to go off and do the wide bodies. Obviously, we wanted to bring in the existing titles into MSFS first. And we started with the 21 because that was the last one we did on P3D. And then we announced a few days ago that we're bringing the Neo in, which follows on quite nicely from what we're doing now. But yes, we obviously we haven't shared a roadmap too far out, but there are ideas and things that are already in development that obviously will become public knowledge further on down the line. But there are other projects that are always going on in the background, and it's not just us. It's the same with every other developer that's working on something for MSFS. We're no different to them. So yes, wide bodies in the future, definitely.
Yeah, thank you much. And then another question I can showcase. The question was, is there a cabin? At the moment, there are viewpoints for the cabin. Is the cabin model, the question is?
Yeah, so you can enter the cabin via the external cabin. It's not currently integrated into the internal cabin, into the internal model, although that will follow pretty quickly afterwards.
Are there any plans to develop something like let's say the Phoenix has with the cabin? Someone asks.
I think we have a whole suite of plans for the cabin that is going to really appeal to the customer base.
Okay.
So yes, it's in work.
In the work. Any plans for 321 cargo aircraft version?
That's a debate that's ongoing at a dev level.
Okay, there we go. Any info about the weather radar implementation? Well, that's one of the things, I guess I'll let one of the devs answer in a minute, but that's one of the key issues with Microsoft Flight Sim, which I've covered many, many times here. Yeah, anything that you can add on this?
Yeah, as with everything, we try to be as close to reality as possible. And the current weather radar implementation that exists isn't the Airbus implementation of weather radar. It kind of is a 2D version. So we weren't quite happy with that and we decided not to put that in. But we have definitely some plans and some code that we're proofing right now to see what's going on.
Okay.
So it's not a no.
Okay. Then we had a question. So is it, or will it be compatible with Windwing hardware and Thrustmaster TCA?
Hardware compatibility is already in the works. We have contacts with a lot of manufacturers who are sending us sample units. So we're doing our best to accommodate everybody in the time frame that we have allowed for that, you know?
Yeah. And there was also a question regarding Skalaki products. Will they be made compatible?
That was, I thought I answered that before. Maybe
Oh,
I
wait, oh,
wasn't
sorry.
very
Yeah, no, maybe I was.
clear. Yeah. The answer is there is a product already in the hands of testers. So.
There we go. And I've still got a Skalaki unit, so I can try as well at some point. No, they will be flying. I'm just going through the preparations now. So we just finished fueling here, and the fuel truck should now be packing up. Yeah, there we are. And again, I have not opened the GSX menu itself. It's all done through the MCDU. So you, as you would do in real life, the captain, you know, he would be asked whether or not you're ready for boarding or not. So once you say, okay, fueling is finished, we're ready for boarding now. So just put board now. Zero fuel weight is about 67.5 estimated, and we'll just request that. And again, that will do the GSX request for you. There's no need to open a GSX menu anywhere. So just make sure we're not missing many questions here. Can you get the MCU external iPad tablet? Yes, you can. Just like in the P3 version, you can do that here as well. There was a question, why 321 first?
I thought Andy answered that already. He said that it was the last product we had done for P3D, so it only made sense to continue that in MSFS.
Okay.
In terms of development, you know?
Yeah, and for me personally, I mean, the 321 is the most versatile, meaning with the additional center tanks, it can cover much greater distances. From a flight sim point of view, it's a lot more interesting regarding, you know, the versatility, shorter range, longer range, you know, few people, many people, so lower gross weights, higher gross weights. So again, it just makes for much more options that you will have available. Yeah, so do apologize that we can't really go too deeply into the things with the MEL and so on, but you can see that it is integrated. You have a fault history, for example, so things that have happened in the past but have been rectified by maintenance. But sometimes IRL, we do look back. So let's say, for example, there's some strange thing going on somewhere with the system. We can go into the history, the fault history, and have a look if it had actually happened before, because that's interesting for maintenance, although maintenance will pick that up as well. But that's what I find interesting as well here regarding the MEL history.
And while you're on that page, I'd like to invite Duncan to explain a little bit about the AC hours and engine hours that you see on the top right, because this is a living aircraft. That's the difference from any other product that's out there right now. We feel that this adds a lot to the immersion on a day-to-day basis for simmers, because it doesn't mean that when you finish a flight, you close your PC or you turn it off and then go to sleep or whatever. The next day, things continue from where you were. So the immersion factor that we feel we add to that is tremendous. Duncan, you want to expand on that?
Yeah, I'm not sure much more what I could. I'm not sure how much more I can expand on that, to be honest. But the hours all drive into the calculations of the aircraft life and where we are in a maintenance cycle and all that kind of good stuff. So it ticks over in the background, and the beauty, which I think I saw some questions on as well, is that the tech log is portable. So if you're doing it can be integrated into a virtual airline system. It can be passed around between friends if you want to multi-leg around the world flight between 3 or 4 of you. You can just take the tech log when you finish, give it to the next person, and off you go. So it becomes quite it gives you that little bit extra in terms of operating the aircraft.
And in fact, if your aircraft has been landed kind of heavily a few times, there's a surprise waiting for you there as well.
Exactly. There's things. I'm just looking for the definition that you guys have put on. So there's so the service kind of based failures. So things that happen after a certain time frame, after a certain time an aircraft or a system has been running. But there's also consequences regarding engine damage, tail strike, for example, icing on the airframe or the engines. I can read here fuel temperature is also an issue on longer flights, especially now the winter months. And then, of course, we have another option then with the GPS jamming, which we will be seeing hopefully today on the way to Larnaca later on. Duncan, you want to say something about the GPS jamming, maybe?
Yeah, of course.
Duncan, if I may drop in here, because we were talking about failures and all that before. I don't know if Black Box is going to be doing a walk around, but you should be able to see the wear and tear on the actual wheels and all that stuff. And if you do any sort of hard landings, that's what I was simulating before. You would be able to go to the wheels and see the brakes and the brake pins themselves. So obviously not in the nose gear, because the nose gear doesn't have any brake pads and brake pins, but on the actual wheels of the main gear, you will see the actual pins and how they wear out for a few flights. Especially if you've been kind of heavy on the brakes like I am.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, so to say again, so that those wear things with the brake discs, you will see visually. Do you see tire wear as well?
You see brake dust accumulation, the tyres will get a bit dirtier. So
okay.
And we're planning on the tires to not look as good later.
Yeah, nice.
You have a door mill, you know that, right?
Sorry, say again, what?
You have a door issue on the mill right now.
Oh, yeah.
Is that going to mess up your push?
We'll have a look. Get to that in a second. Thank you much. People asking, some people already know release date yet?
I don't know if we want to say anything about that.
It's always tough, isn't it? Because if something comes up in the last minute.
Well, let's say pleasantly surprised, I hope.
There we go.
I know I'm being vague here, but yeah. Sorry.
No worries. Right, I think Lefteris, what you meant with the door, wasn't that in the history? That was on the history. They fixed it, actually. It's funny that you say that, because on my last flight, so when I did a test flight from Athens to Larnaca, I actually had this sensor fault.
Okay. So I picked it up with the corner of my eye, and I thought it was in your main mill. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah,
no worries. So when you were saying that, I was looking for the status, and I'm like, hang on, no, that's the current one. So the door I did dispatch with on the last flight, but maintenance have actually automatically now closed that. So
perfect.
Perfect.
What I was saying before about the history of the aircraft and what you did last flight affecting the next one.
Yeah.
This is no longer an A to B flight. This is not. I'm sitting down on my PC and I just want to do what A to B. I have to be careful that things are actually properly looked at and I don't take off and something funny happens.
Yeah, exactly. So I've looked at some examples. One of those would be, for example, inoperative APU at some point, right? You can dispatch with an APU inoperative, but there's things to consider. And same with TCAS, for example. Let's say TCAS inoperative, there are areas where you're allowed to fly without a working TCAS. But the question is, do you really want to? Right? Are you flying to an airspace that doesn't have a full control? There's a lot of VFAR traffic around, et cetera, et cetera. So, it's going to be up to you to decide if you accept that. If you don't accept it, you can call maintenance here, simulate it, and then have the defect repaired, if you like. The release date, they said that they're not going to be able to definitely say just yet at what date they are able to publish this. Exactly. Right, cool. So the boarding is ongoing right now, and I think since we didn't have that many or that much cargo, it should be... Yeah, we are finished with boarding, so we have all the passengers on board already, which means we should be getting a load sheet in a minute. And again, this is all integrated. There's nothing that you have to push regarding GSX and so on. So these flows are supposed to simulate the real world flows. So you come to the aircraft, you power up the aircraft, you check the tech logbook, And with these MEL items, trust me, just like in real life, that can take some time. I don't know all these things from the top of my head, meaning I have to dig into the books, I have to dig into the MEL lists, I have to look, is there maybe a second system involved that has a effect in combination with two defects and so on. That is very time consuming. And on one of my streams, I mentioned that sometimes, let's say I'm the pilot flying and I would actually prefer to go and prepare my aircraft, MCDU and so on. I actually can't do that for quite a long time because I'm dug into all these MEL items and to get a proper overview of the technical status of the aircraft. That is absolutely important. So once I've understood what the technical status is, what things I have to consider, maybe there's some operational tasks that we have to do, system checks and so on, right? Then I have to brief my first officer as well so that he's on the same boat and same picture. So that does take up a lot of time IRL, and this simulates this very nicely.
Obviously, for the casual simmer, you can do without that.
Yes.
That would be a nuisance if you just want to hop in and fly. So you can do that as well. You can even repair your tech log, or you can, just very quickly get rid of every failure that you see and just be done. And then you can turn the failures off if you want.
Exactly.
And the service-based failures as well, you can set them so that they don't fire, and or you can set them to be mean time between failures to be high, or you can set your resets to be at 100%. So anytime you reset a failure, it fixes itself. It's up to you. We just gave you all the options so that you have them.
Yeah. So let's say you're flying on a VATSIM event and you are worried about, having failure potentially. Yeah, you can dial those settings down, and so that you don't have any bigger failures that would mean that you have to land somewhere, and not be able to finish that event, right? So we have received the load sheet. That's a preliminary load sheet. And the departure time, let's have a look at the init. So the CTOT is 12:50, EOPT was 12:30, so we have about 15 minutes to go before we push back. Another question was, is the integration regarding the Hoppy network, so the DCDU here, and yes it is. So just like in the P3D version, you can actually use CPDLC, you can get PDCs, or pre-departure clearance and so on, as you have been used to.
Can I jump in?
Yes.
We've also added full support for Say Intentions AI as well to the ACARS networks, so you can use either Hoppy or Say Intentions via the DCDUs exactly as you would.
Nice. So Say Intentions integration there as well. Fantastic. I guess I have to try that out at some point. Yeah. Very nice. Okay, so we have a few more minutes before we have to depart. Let's have a look at the questions. Are cabin announcements and cabin crew integrated?
Yeah, so we've carried over that core staple that everyone was knew and loved in P3D to the cabin system, and then there's been some expansions on that as well. So hopefully it should feel like coming home.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, it did. It was so natural again because I've used the FSLabs, I don't know, probably 1,000 hours in P3D. So for me, yeah, it's great to be in the aircraft again. It feels very natural, all the flows and so on. Have the performance calculators been modified to a high degree of accuracy? Okay, back then, personally, I didn't feel that it was not really that accurate, but you can see the layout is the same as it was on the P3D versions, which I like very much because this is very, very similar to my real-world calculator.
I remember someone saying that this feels dated. It's the one that you guys still use at Lufthansa, yes?
Absolutely, yeah. So I don't see why people think it's dated. I mean, I guess maybe the reference to the the more open software available that's floating around sometimes on some websites, but I'm not sure why they are wondering that it's outdated. Strange enough.
Yeah, and I want to address that too, because people feel that they have to use either or. I mean, we're all developers of something that we feel is a hobby and a product of love. So there's no reason why we should be hostile towards another product or whatever. We love everything that comes out because we feel it adds immersion, and anything that adds immersion, we are hobbyists first. We are simmers.
Yeah.
Deep down, everyone is a simmer. Because we wouldn't be doing this just to, it's definitely not going to buy you a yacht to go to the Bahamas for sure. So, to each their own. Whoever wants to use anything, it's open for that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And for me, I think interesting. I get asked the questions. You fly these aircraft for real. Why in your free time do you actually go and use flight simulators? Well, I use it for two reasons. One of them is that I use it to prepare for my check rides. Right? Because it's so immersive, because it has so many simulated failures and options. I can actually in real time simulate failures, prepare for my check rides, and that's something that's really helpful. It has helped me in the years that I was flying the A320, and for flight simming, I'm so fascinated about the fact how, and I can compare the flight sims to the real world aircraft and the work there, that I am so fascinated about how tremendously accurate these flight sims have become, how well the system simulations are. Not all aircraft add-ons, obviously, but there are some of these absolutely unique add-ons that are so good, that give you that immersion. And if that weren't the case, then obviously, I would be bored. I wouldn't be able to fly this that often and stream it. So I think that says a lot about the quality of these add-ons. All right. So my monitor is.
You know what? It's always amazing to see how you guys fly it, because you know so much more about this product, this aircraft, than any of us could ever do. So the way that you approach what you do in your streams is always a learning curve for us. We are always looking at it from a developer perspective, and we try to listen to you guys all the time because you fly it more, but what you have to offer to us is tremendous, and every day we're learning something new. It's amazing. You are the audience that we appreciate. On the other hand, the casual simmer who goes into our product and flies it is also someone who we invite to feed us back with information, because without their help, other things that pilots don't really pay attention to would be missed.
Yeah.
So it's always a balance, We always want to keep a balance between those two.
Yeah. And I'm not a programmer. I don't know how much, how complicated it is to get these simulations, true to life. So that's something that fascinates me, absolutely. Somebody was asking, where's the home button on the external EFB? So if you have, for example, on your tablet or on the browser, it's down here. So you can go, into the tech log, let's say, and just press that button. You're back into the main menu. It is there. Right, so I'm just going to go and fetch the weather real quickly. I'm going to glance over the next questions. The shared cockpit part. So I've never used shared cockpit here in Microsoft Flight Sim, but there is an app apparently that accommodates that. Have you ever heard of it, or have you thought about some integration there?
Yes, in fact, I have gotten in touch with a developer who's behind, or one of the developers who's behind the product that's called Your Controls. If there's any other, please bring it to my attention, but that's the main one that I know about.
That's the one, yeah.
There is a small bug in the current Asobo implementation of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. It has to do, I don't want to bore you with the technical details, but it has to do with WebSockets and how their product communicates with the other side through the internet. And depending on how many entries there are in panel config files, what they do is they open a new socket per entry in the panel config files, and after a certain limit, the system is flooded and the sim crashes.
Okay.
So we've been able to demonstrate that on Asobo's dev support forum, and we have talked about it with the developers. We're hoping that they get a fix through that in order for us to be able to fully support the product. In the meantime, we're waiting for them to give us some response on this.
Yeah, thank you much for that. And another question was there, so what's the selling point of FlightsimLabs CEO given the Airbus market is most saturated? Well, in my opinion, and I'm sure you can chime in a second, but in my opinion, is the overall way you simulate a pilot life. So the FSLabs has gone now in a direction that integrates more things that a pilot comes into contact on a daily basis. And the technical aspect side of these things is so big in the real world. And so having that now simulated in the aircraft here is brilliant. And also for me, it's the seamless integration of all the services with GSX and so on. So the test flights that I've done, GSX integration was so good, I've not seen that anywhere else. Because usually we have, I was saying we're going to get the GSX memes again, because something will go wrong using the normal GSX menus, right? So having that here, so seamlessly working and so well, that to me just adds to the immersion. So for me, it's another product that just, builds on top of the previous products, and I like it. So let's see if you've got anything else to add, feel free.
I think you covered it off really well there, to be honest. At the end of the day, it's what you guys take away from this is the selling point, to be honest. We can give you a list, but at the end of the day, we're giving you a list. So it's going to be people like yourself, Black Box, and the community that give us the feedback on what's really good.
So I understand, and I take the feedback as well. People saying, no, I'm not really looking into that, and I just want to fly A to B. I don't want to. Well, that's fine, right? So everyone has their own preferences, but yeah, we're demonstrating what the aircraft has, what new things it has, how it is integrated into the daily flight sim operations, if you like.
And I think one of the really key things that has happened as part of our development cycle is all of Andy's work on the ELAC and the flight controls and all that kind of good stuff, and hopefully we'll be able to give these guys a little bit of an idea of that once we get airborne.
Exactly, and that's a good tip here as well.
And see, that's the thing. I don't want to have people think that this is not for the casual simmer who wants to fly A2B. I think we try to do them justice as well. The A2B route has to feel immersive and right. So we put a lot of attention in the flight model. We put a lot of attention in the fidelity and accuracy. It has to feel like a real A321. And your feedback to us on that is going to be very, very valuable. As you've flown the real thing so many times. Only you can tell us, does it actually feel like a real Airbus?
Exactly, and we talked it prior to the stream when I did some test flying, and people will then, of course, ask between the comparison, because I think the only comparable product is the Phoenix regarding the A320. The fly-by-wire team have done a fantastic job on trying to get the Neo simulated and so on, but we're talking about the fidelity that we get in the Phoenix and here in the FSLabs. So people want a comparison, obviously, between the two, in my opinion. So we'll talk about that during the flight once we get airborne. A little bit cliffhanger, but let me just finish the preparations. And if you probably have watched it, I'm sure that most people here that are watching are interested and are actually pretty much on top of the preparations and so on. They know how to feed the MCDU, etc. So I'm not really explaining anything in that regard. But as you can see, we've pretty much finished up the MCDU preparations, departure route, arrival routing. I'm going to set up the MCD or the flight control unit here. And then, yeah, we can see loading is completed. The boarding is completed. We are getting close to our departure time. And just looked at the final load sheet. So that was the final edition. I replied and accepted that load sheet. So put my signature below that if you like. entered all the values now into the MCDU. We check them, and the last thing then to do is to go and have a look at the takeoff page. Just make sure that we have the values there for takeoff. I'm going to do 74.2 tons, so quite a nice heavy aircraft today. And we're departing runway 21 left, full length. And yes, you can see here, you have the options for intersection departures. You can select those. You don't have to go through a different menu. You can select it straight here. Make sure you have all of the data entered correctly. Air conditioning will do on today. I'll force config 1, because that's usually what we have on the A321s. Maybe the British Airways guys will disagree, because they do somehow have different flap settings for takeoff. But okay, so question now regarding frame rates. Okay, so frame rates I can definitely comment on. So FPS are pretty much in line with Phoenix. So I did a direct comparison today, and they are pretty much the same. So you will enjoy the same kind of performance as with the Phoenix. So now that we've worked out the performance for takeoff, we're going to have a look at the stop margin range. So dry runway today, that's enough range for me. I don't need to manipulate anything else. And so we're just going to load that into the MCDU, so you can uplink the takeoff data. And again, it's just so convenient, so nice to use. Here we'll have a look at the NDP1 departure today. So it's going to be 1810 for the thrust reduction and 3310 for acceleration. Oh yeah, one more question maybe for Duncan regarding the tech logbook. Is there anything in plan regarding maybe just like on the load sheet that you have to confirm that you're accepting the aircraft? I know it's just a little bit of a gimmick, if you like, but that was one of the things I was wondering.